Hello, and thank you for joining me for the first demonstration. In this demonstration I'm going to show you how to make all the component parts for the Crafty Talk bag. When we've done that, I will go away, and then in the second demonstration I'll show you how to put it all together. So to start off, you want to get your cutting instructions and cut out all your fabrics. One thing to make sure when you cut them out is that you do follow the directions on the cutting instructions, because on some of the fabrics we cut across the width of the fabric, and for the lining we cut down the length of the fabric. Now it's really quite important, because if you do it wrong you won't have enough fabric for the lining, but it's all explained on the cutting instructions. Okay, so to start off, the first thing we're going to do is take all our strips of fabric, and you will have had 3 lots of each fabrics, which you're going to cut out and then cut them in half. So you have 18 strips of fabric altogether. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to arrange them, so both sides need to be exactly the same. So you just would arrange them like this. I don't know if you can see, actually, let me put it forward a bit. No, bring it forward, that's better, sorry. So here we go. So I'm just going to arrange them all out, and then once you've got all your 9 strips arranged, you can then start sewing them together. And we use a 1/4 inch seam, and there we go, and just stitch them all together, quite straightforward from top to bottom. Okay, and there we go. And so you want 2, once you've joined them all together, I've done one here. Here we have, as you can see, slightly different layout of the fabrics, but pretty much the same. So once you've done this, you will then cut out your piece bosal or in-R form, or whatever, foam stabilizer, whichever you would like to use. You can use other stuff such as perhaps Craftex, but I would recommend that you do use something stiff rather than ordinary wadding, because you do want it to be quite structured. So once you've fused them, sewn them all together, you take your piece of fabric and lay it out on your, I'm using a foam stabilizer here, and I'm using actually single-sided fusible, but you can equally use sewing. You don't need to, it just makes it a bit easier. So there we go. So I've now sewn it down. So the next thing we want to do is to just sew 1/4 inch on either side of the sewings of these seams. I tend to start in the middle and work out to one side and then the other side, and then turn it round and go back the opposite way. And here I have one here that I made earlier. I've now then trimmed this to size, and all the sizes are given in the instructions. Once you've trimmed it, so you would then do that on both of these, and you trim them both, and then we have our 2 bag outsides ready. Okay, so I'll put those to one side. I'll move all these bits out of the way, because the next thing we're going to do is to actually make the internal pockets. So you'll have 2 pieces of fabric, which you're going to put right sides together and sew down each side 1/4 inch again. You would then turn this inside out like so. There we go. Now here's one I made earlier. So what you want to do is to actually, not to put the seams at the top, but you want to drop them down a little bit, so like 1 inch, so that you get the top of the bag, pocket rather, sorry. Then give it a good press, which I'll do. Then again, some measurements are given in your instructions. You will make some marks down here, and this is for the lines of the pockets. And on the inside of the lining, we'll do exactly the same. Now you'll see I've interfaced this, and I do recommend you interface the lining, because when you put the pockets on, they will, it gives it a bit of extra strength. Now you'll see that the pockets are actually longer than the lining, but that's great. That's exactly what we want. Okay, so I've drawn some lines on here. Again, you would do these lines, but all the measurements are given in the instructions and also on here. So what the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to measure the 2 central lines here, and I'm going to put a pin in here. And then I've got my second line here, and I'm going to match that up with the line that I've drawn on my lining. So like this. Like this. And on my third line here on this side here. Okay. So that's the first part done. Okay, so now what you want to do is to go to the sewing machine, and starting at the bottom, or I start at the top, or start at the bottom, sorry, start at the bottom and sew all the way up to the top, turn around and come back again, and do it on all these lines. So I'm just going to do that, and then I can show you how we make the pleats in it. So just bear with me, it won't take me a minute to do this. If by starting at the bottom and then going back down, you give a nice strong seam, but also it also hides the threads as well, so they won't be at the top of the bag. Put my pins in there. I'm going to swivel and come back down again. There we go, got the thread. I'm going to do the same with this middle one. Start at the bottom. Up to the top, swivel, and back down again. Now, last one. And there we go. So let's bring this ironing board up here so you can see what I'm going to do here. So we can take out all these pins, and as you can see, we've got some a bit baggy here. So all we need to do is just take a little bit and just fold it over and pin it. Again. Bring a little bit over. On the sides it's quite easy to how much you need to fold, because let's take this out there, because the actual edge of the pocket will line up on the outside. So I'm going to fold that over. You can see straight away. I'll give that a quick press just so you can see how it comes together. And there's your first pocket done, but you can see you've got a nice, so you've got plenty of storage space. So the next thing we'll do is to just, once you've done them all along here, is to sew down here and all the way along the bottom and up to the top, and that's your linings done. So you'll do that with both sides of your linings. So the last thing that we need to make is our handle. Where is my handle? With me 1 second. Here we go. Here's my handle piece. So with the handle now, we're just going to take it and fold it in half, give it a good press. We've got a fold line down the centre. There's no need to interface this unless you particularly want to. There we go. And then we're going to bring the edge, raw edges in to the middle, like so. I'll line this as I'm going along because I think it's easier. go, and then along to the other side. There we go, right the way down. Finish to the edge. There we go. And then we're going to fold that in half again. Just, the iron's on the wrong side for me, but just straight the way down. And there we go. So that's our handle made. Out of the way. And then we're just going to simply sew very close to the edge, about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge of each side, just to give it a nice neat finish. I'll just do that. I'll just do the one side so you get the idea. Then you would sew down the other side as well, and then we're going to cut that in half, and that's our 2 handles for either side of the bag. Okay, so that's it for this first demonstration. I'll go away and I'm going to finish making up all the components, and then we'll come back and we'll start the second demonstration showing you how to put the whole bag together. Thank you.